So the Quartering also has a video pre-election entitled "Why a Liberal Gamer Voted for Donald Trump in the 2020 Election." Jeremy referring to himself as liberal is one of the most depressing and hilarious things I've ever heard. Jeremy, you are not a liberal, and I know. I dislike liberals. You're not a liberal. You are a right-winger, and I know that, because I hate right-wingers. Jeremy. Liberal. Cool. Antipodian scored with 20 bits. He needs to learn to survive that sweet, big Subway money. Doing content at Jake's? No, we're doing a D&D thing, but it's not like a stream thing. We're working on something.
What's going on, everyone? Jeremy here from the Quartering, and it's about time I make my cringe election-themed video. Look, I understand that my position has been, and it will continue to remain, that you should not listen to any talking head tell you who to vote for. Whether that's a
Unless it's me, then go and vote for Joe Biden.
Hollywood celebrity, your favorite YouTuber, or your mom, or your wife, or your brother, or the people at your job.
Windchanter, glad to hear you're hanging out with Jake. Yeah? I mean, we're friends. Tucker White 94, I'd just like to give some bits to say I'm still the bits leader, bitches.
Only you should decide who you vote for. You shouldn't vote because you feel pressured. You should vote because people have fought and lost their lives for our ability to vote. Women in particular fought very hard to vote, yet turn out in legendarily low numbers. And I know that my audience skews about 90-10, men to women, but fellas, you know, make sure your wife comes with you to vote, or your girlfriend, or ask a female friend of yours. You know, maybe it's a nice little, maybe it's a date opportunity. I don't know. It's a good conversation starter.
Koya Tree with 50 bits. Gonna head out and keep away from the news and social media the rest of the week. Wish me luck at the polls tomorrow. Happy voting, everyone. Well, thanks for voting. Tomorrow, go out and vote. Thanks for coming to the stream.
You know, you say, hey, have you voted yet? No. You want to go together? And don't ask them who they're voting for. Don't make it all political. Just make it an event.
I'm so tired of all this politics and my voting.
Because
don't make it political, guys. You're gonna make it super weird, like Captain Marvel.
Because I promise you that when you vote, it feels good. It feels like, hey, I've done my civic duty. And one of the most important things that voting gets you the right to do, which, as an American,
he's gonna say complain. It gives you the right to complain.
And an internet personality is very important to me. It gives you the right to complain. This is very important. If you don't like who's in office and you didn't vote, opinion disregarded. Not voting is the original pronouns in the bio.
There's nothing funny
and
about the tool.
when I said,
what the fuck? He's got to throw in his little anti-trans jabs. Interesting choice. But no, I actually agree with his talking point minus the weird pronouns and bio jab. Yeah, go and vote. And if you don't vote, I don't want to hear anything from any of you who didn't vote for the next 4 years. I just don't. Like, you don't get to not participate in the electoral system and then complain about the results of the electoral system.
said in the past that I don't care who my viewers vote for. I mean it. Now, given the type of topics that I cover, I can pretty much assume that my U.S.-based my U.S.-based viewers will skew towards Trump. But
oh, he actually admitted that. That's an interesting nod. He doesn't normally admit that he's like conservative and that his content is very right-wing in its nature. Cool. Windchanter with 20 bits. Let's start a rumor that voting turns you gay. The right won't risk it.
I really do mean.
I missed a bit message. Sorry, let me go find it. Can't think of a more romantic date idea than seeing the cranky old lady running the polling place. Hey, my polling place tends to have sweet old ladies, okay? How dare you?
That I don't care who my viewers vote for or why because only you have that right. It's the same way I view many of the legislations in this country. If I had to define myself, this is, a common question that is pondered by many of my detractors, as Phil would call them. There's a couple of YouTube channels that obsess over me, which is cringe.
Hey, Jeremy. How you doing?
Because I'm basically a nobody. But
Jeremy, don't you understand? Whatever disease of the brain caused you to be obsessed with Brie Larson, I contracted it through the internet. But it mutated, and instead of being obsessed with Brie Larson, I'm obsessed with you. It's like that PSA from the 80s or 90s when the dad finds, like, drug paraphernalia under the kid's bed, and he's like, "Who taught you how to do this?" And the kid cries and goes, "I learned by watching you!" This is that, but through the internet.
they think I'm some, like, far-right guy. In fact, I'm pretty liberal.
Hold on. Let's go look at Jeremy's other channel, Midwestly. This is Jeremy's second channel. This is where he does all politics. Let's see what he does. Leftist meltdown over Amy Coney Barrett. Record-breaking economic recovery under Trump. Hunter Biden emails confirmed real. Biden bus trolled. Trump surges ahead. Biden scared. Hunter Biden text leak. Amy Coney Barrett will be confirmed. Yeah, very liberal. This all looks very liberal, Jeremy. Especially all your anti-Biden videos. There's nothing funny about very, very, very liberal. This would be like if I made a video where I was like, well, you guys know I'm a center-right person, so let me talk about how much I actually, as a center-right person, want to vote for Biden. It would be ridiculous. I would rightfully be called out on that lie, because it would be a lie. Just like Jeremy saying he's a liberal is a lie. Jeremy, if you were a liberal, I would hate you so much less. Not none, but less, right? Jeremy, if you were a liberal, you would be the kind of person who'd be like, yay, Captain Marvel, it's about time we got a woman superhero, hooray! Whereas I'm over here as a leftist being like, oh, I enjoyed Captain Marvel. It was a good movie. It's cool that it's like a lady superhero, but I don't, base the quality of the movie on that. It's a tertiary thing that's just cool. Jeremy, you are not a liberal. You're not a liberal. Stop saying that. It's a lie. The Stellar Sea Cow with 20 bits. The lady who runs my polling place refused to renew the lease of the people she was renting. Her deceased mother's house to my next door neighbors because they thought it was okay to refer to my family as the N-word when we would just bring groceries in. Jesus, yikes. Tucker White 94 with 20 bits. Oh, so his other channel is a gossip rag? Basically, it's like a political gossip rag. Captain Marvel is kind of anti you. That's fine. If you don't like it, that's okay. I don't care. And I cover Jeremy covering Brie Larson a lot, which might give some people the impression that, like, I'm the biggest Captain Marvel fan in the world. I liked Captain Marvel. I thought it was fun. It's like on the level of Doctor Strange for me. It was cool seeing Samuel L. Jackson being young, and I like Brie Larson as Captain Marvel. But it was just okay. And I understand if someone doesn't like that movie or any movie, but it's not the fact that Jeremy doesn't like Captain Marvel. It's the fact that he creepily obsesses about Brie Larson. It's very, very strange.
I'm a pro-choice guy, and I'm pro-LGBTQ rights, the right to marry and have all the same benefits any other married couple will have. I'm pro...
Honestly, I feel like these are pretty centrist positions these days, but all right, continue.
Environment, and these are the core tenets. These were the 10.
Okay, but see, Jeremy, none of what you just said makes sense in regard to voting for Donald Trump. That's not very praxis of you if you genuinely are pro-choice for LGBTQ rights, and stuff like that. Like, these are not Donald Trump voting positions. Donald Trump has been on the record being against abortion. He's banned trans people from the military and also tried to remove protections for trans people in their health care. Like, you can't say you're for these things and then take actions that are directly opposite of the benefit of those positions. That's like, it'd be like if I said, like, I'm a pacifist. I would never hurt anyone, and then I literally punched someone in the face right after I said that. Like, my words might say one thing, but if my actions go against what I just said, I'm going to trust the actions over what I say. Tidal Bell, rather, with 20 bits. What is this trend of conservatives nowadays saying they're actually pretty liberal? It's a tactic. It's a tactic to try and continually, and this isn't new, it's a tactic to move the Overton window to the right, so that their right-wing position now is considered left, then an actual left-wing position, or even a liberal position, all of a sudden that looks like, oh my god, it's so crazy, socialist, communism. It's a way to reframe the argument, to make them look more reasonable than they are being. Wind Chanter with 20 bits. Does Jeremy know what the T in LGBT stands for? Does Jeremy know what the T in LGBTQ stands for? Because he doesn't act like it. I have no idea. I think he does. He's just paying lip service. He knows what he's saying is bullshit.
Poles of liberalism when I grew up. You know, when I was 18, it was
20 years ago.
It was like, are you pro-choice or pro-life? And that helped kind of skew where you're voting. But now candidates don't really run on that so much anymore.
Donald Trump has. It's not his main talking point, but it's certainly something he's talked about before.
You look at a guy like Trump, who, you know, says he's pro-choice, but...
What? No! When has Trump said he's pro-choice? He literally just put Amy Coney Barrett on the Supreme Court. What are you talking about? Pseudosapien, thank you for raiding with 6 people. Welcome to the stream, everyone.
You know, to appeal to that base of people that need their president. I'm sorry, pro-life. Sorry.
Okay, there we go. That makes more sense. At least it was just a misspeak and it wasn't that big of a lie. Jesus Christ.
You know, to appeal to the base of people that need to hear that to vote for him. I don't really know if he is or isn't. I don't know that many men, for example, have super strong opinions about this.
They should, as long as the opinion is to make sure that women have the right to choose what they do with their body.
Sure, some do. But I thought, you know, given everything that I've talked about on this channel, I would let you know what were some of the...
Is she on the court already? Yeah, she already got sworn in.
4 tenets that led me to vote, you know, that were driving me on election day. Okay. Quite frankly, tech censorship. Yes.
You know, I would like for women have the right to choose what to do with their body, and it would be cool if LGBT people had rights. But YouTube's demonetizing me, so F you guys. Probably a bad look, Jeremy. Not a great look.
It is a selfish first world problem thing, but it's very important to me.
Tucker White 94 with 20 bits. Are we sure this isn't a vigilant Christian video? Get to the point, Jeremy.
This video isn't about me telling you what's important. This video is me telling you what I feel is important to me and why I vote the way I did. And maybe this will help clear up some of the waters, because I'm not really a very political person.
Jeremy, yes you are. You literally, we just looked at your politics channel. You have a whole channel that's just politics. That you, it was 4 hours ago, 5 hours ago, 6 hours ago, 3 days ago, 4 days ago, 6 days ago, that you post to regularly. And not only that, but on your actual The Quartering channel, just because Brie Larson and people like her aren't like running for president, the opinions that you put forth in terms of like anti-SJW stuff, anti-Black Lives Matter stuff, anti-inclusion in video games and movies and stuff. These are political positions, even if they don't feel like it to you. You have multiple videos on AOC. Like, dude, you're political. What is all the... And again, this would be like me being like, guys, I'm not political. I'm not political, guys. Did you know that? Because sometimes I do videos on things other than politics. That makes all the actual politics stuff I do completely inert. I'm not political. Did you know that? I would rightfully be labeled absurd, right? That's an absurd statement coming from someone who makes political commentary all the time. The same as Jeremy. Jeremy, you're political. Get over it. Unconditional prong 1. Does Jeremy realize that Trump said that video games cause real-life violence? I don't know. I think he'd probably write that off as, oh, he's just being a boomer, which he is, but that doesn't make it better. Antipodian Squid with 20 bits. Jeremy lacks all self-awareness or self-respect, and he's just fine with lying. I'm not sure which. Winchanter with 20 bits. Can we get a Brie Larson to run for president just for the lulz? No, not even as a joke. No more celebrities, okay? That's a rule. Let's write that in the new Constitution. No celebrities are allowed to run for president.
I'm mostly libertarian. I don't want the
Which is it, Jeremy? Are you a liberal or are you a libertarian? Because those things they don't mesh. You can't just start using a bunch of words
government
that mean different things.
Messing with anything. I want the tiniest possible government. I want the tiniest possible interaction with them in my life.
Yes, the very liberal position of I want the tiniest government possible and I don't want it to interfere with my life at all.
All the troops home. I want to take care of our own. So tech censorship is a big one for me. And censorship in and of itself used to be a liberal issue. Apparently, now it isn't.
Because, Jeremy, you're not being censored. You're not. The government censoring you is censorship. If you get banned from Twitter for using the N-word, that's not censorship. That's you being banned from a platform, and they're allowed to do that, and I think they should be allowed to do that.
There's nothing funny about
it's fine. Winchanter with 20 bits, but then we get to watch Jeremy explode while still claiming his channel isn't political and he isn't misogynist. But, yeah.
Why? Well, it is my opinion that the Liberal Party, or liberal identifying people, they see that they benefit from it. And so
it's not about benefit, Jeremy. It's just that people on the left, how do I put this? People on the left tend not to be people who say things that are so outrageous and, like, racist. It just doesn't affect people on the left. Like, it's not about censoring people on the right. It's about keeping hateful messaging off the internet. Or at least off certain platforms. You can go to your Stormfront forums or to BitChute or wherever you want while they allow that stuff. But a lot of people who are on Twitter or wherever, most of the customer base doesn't appreciate that shit. Especially if you're like someone who's using racial slurs or trying to push like race realism bullshit like Stefan Molyneux. And Twitter, being a private company, wants to serve the majority of their customers, so they get rid of those people from the platform. Like, this is part of capitalism, Jeremy. Like, you don't have to like it. It's fine. Go to BitChute. Go be on BitChute, Jeremy. That's where you belong. Winchanter with 20 bits. Watch out for drop bears to all my Aussie friends. And yeah, leftists have been censored. Just not as much, I don't think, because A, I think there's fewer leftists than there are far-right people. And also because people on the far left tend to not be super racist like people on the far right. You know what I mean? Like, they get banned on the left for maybe calls for violence or something, like political violence, which I don't think you should do. But people on the right get banned for stuff like, you know, throwing around racial slurs. It's just a different thing.
So they stopped fighting for it. You know, I incorrectly said Tipper Gore was a Republican, I think. But I remember back in the day, you know, you had people worried about bands and lyrics and playing Magic the Gathering. all this stuff is insanity, right? But a lot of it was coming from traditional conservatives, which turned me off hardcore to ever calling myself a Republican. The idea that anybody would get involved in the type of music I listen to or the games I play is insanity. But now, in 2020, I feel like the Democratic Party doesn't care about protecting our free speech and our personal liberties as much as they once did. So,
do you have an example?
Tech censorship is a very, very important thing to me.
Banning someone from Twitter for using, like, the N-word is not the same thing as some religious zealot saying you shouldn't play Magic the Gathering because it's satanic. Do I need to explain the difference between those two concepts?
Another very important topic to me is international relations.
And as we all know, Trump has been amazing for international relations.
I don't want any of our troops deployed in any foreign actions. I want them here to defend this country, and I don't want to play world police. This is something that
I would agree with that. I think a lot of people on the left would agree with the fact that we don't want a bunch of random troops in the Middle East. It's basically an occupation. It's not cool. We completely destabilize the region, and it is bad. I think that most people, honestly, at this point, after, like, the Iraq War, I say after, you know, all the stuff we've learned from the various Middle Eastern wars that we've caused, I think most Americans at this point are on the same page that we need to knock that shit off. It's terrible for the economy, it's terrible for the soldiers, it's terrible for the people whose country we're going into. Like, no bueno.
That mattered to me, as I've talked about many times, because when I was 18, the whole the Twin Towers stuff happened, and then that moron Bush Jr.
Let's see. If he was 18 in 2001, then right now he's 37. I'm pretty close on assuming Jeremy's almost 40. That's not bad.
Shipped all these soldiers overseas to fight for nothing. He lied about the WMDs. We went after the wrong country altogether. So people that think just because I'm anti-PC that I'm some sort of hardcore Republican again, no, I hated Bush Jr.
You're not necessarily a Republican. You're a conservative and a chud. Those are different things.
With a fiery hot.
And a Republican today would also be different than describing a Republican from, like, the early 2000s, but that's a completely different discussion.
Passion. And the idea that so many of my, my peers, they were all 18 at that time when that happened. I was 18 when that happened. And so many of my friends signed up under the guise of going to protect this country. And they didn't even go, we didn't even invade the right people, quote unquote. And that stuck with me, right? So to this day, I like a candidate that will openly try to seek peace.
Neither candidate is running on some, like, war hawk platform. Biden is not out here going like, we need to invade more countries. What are you talking about, Jeremy? The left has continually been the party in this country that has been against war for decades. So what are you talking about? Donald Trump, again, earlier this year, assassinated, like, an Iranian leader and bombed Iran. Like, what? These people live in a different dimension from us.
There's nothing funny about the tools.
Tinker Taylor 84 with 20 bits. F. Jeremy, I hated Bush Jr. and then encouraged me to investigate progressive politics. How do you go through 9/11 and the war on terror and move right?
But when it's time to go, then go hard. Right.
Yeah, and Trump, I remember, oh god, it's been a while since I read this one. Yeah, Trump said we should take out the families of terrorists.
Right, like, I don't want these 5-year-old...
And Trump tore up the Iran deal, yes.
5-year-long theaters going on like we have right now. If you have to, make it cut once, cut deep. It's kind of like laying people off. And so... I want a candidate that's not going to get us involved in any foreign shenanigans. To me, and I know obviously this is how do you say, not likely. Like, to me, 0 troops off home soil. I understand they have to protect certain interests there, but the absolute minimum number of troops deployed that are not, not here in the United States is what I want. Until every veteran has health care, and every homeless veteran is off the street, take care of our own, please. I've also...
Again, Republicans in Congress have multiple times blocked bills or voted no on bills to help veterans. So, Jeremy, why are you advocating for the side that is against the things that you are saying you want?
Important to me with foreign aid. Again, until our homelessness problem here is greatly reduced, I understand that there are people that are...
And again, Jeremy, homelessness in general is not something that the right, whether the president or Congress, wants to fix. They think that the free market should solve that, and if you are homeless, it is your own fault and you need to deal with it. They are not the party of extending social safety nets to people. They're the party of pull yourself up by your bootstraps. Nothing is going to get done on homelessness that's going to be positive for the homeless under Republicans.
Quote-unquote homeless because they want to be. But, okay, whatever that percentage is, fine. But I want somebody who's going to spend our money here on this country. Yes, I'm selfish, okay? I don't think that it's a requirement that we get involved in everybody else's business. First and foremost, because why do you think so many people in the Mideast hate us? Because we've been meddling there forever, right? Stay out of it, right? So
I agree, Jeremy. See, what you're saying, I agree with, but then your conclusion to vote for Donald Trump is the dumbest, and it's the opposite of what you should be doing if these are the things you believe in. Genuinely. You're extolling left-leaning positions and then saying, so I'm going to vote for Donald Trump in order to do the opposite of the things I'm advocating for? What are you talking about, Jeremy? Did you piss your brains out in the basement one night accidentally? Like, this is not how American politics work. You can't advocate for left-wing, like, democratic positions or even just, like, left-leaning positions outside of the Democratic Party and then go the opposite the direction in who you're going to vote for. That makes no sense. He's close to figuring it out. I don't know.
Again, when I cast my ballot, these are the things I'm thinking about. I'm thinking about my family's financial security. I work very hard. I work 2 full-time jobs, both here on YouTube, managing 2 channels here on the Quartering and Midwestly, and I run an advertising agency. Every year, I pay hundreds of thousands of dollars in income tax.
Jesus Christ, Jeremy, how much money do you make? Jeremy, let me put it this way. If you pay hundreds of thousands of dollars in income tax every year, then you make enough money. You make enough money if you are paying hundreds of thousands of dollars in income tax, then you are making hundreds of thousands of dollars more that you aren't being taxed on, or that you get after taxes, is what I mean. Stuff that you are taxed on, but it's the money you actually get to keep. You're fine, Jeremy. You're fine. You're fine. And if your taxes go up because you make over $400,000 a year, good. 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 Winge Chanter with 20 bits, hashtag unsavable.
Think about that. Hundreds of thousands of dollars I pay in income tax.
Okay, then you're making a ridiculous amount of money, Jeremy. Then you're probably making close to, or God, you must be making somewhere between half and almost a full $1 million a year. Let me play you a song on the world's tiniest violin. Oh no, Jeremy has to pay hundreds of thousands of dollars on his $1 million salary. So sad. No, don't care. Do not care, Jeremy. That's how the system is supposed to work.
Okay? Huge numbers. And I take nothing from the system. I pay for my own health care.
Right, because you're wealthy. If you're paying hundreds of thousands of dollars a year in taxes, guess what, Jeremy? Good news! I don't know if this is news for Jeremy. then we're about to give him a good day. Jeremy, you're wealthy. Good job. You did it. You did it. You did the wealth. You are a rich person. Hooray! Most people aren't. Most people aren't.
Out of pocket. I don't get any government benefits. I don't get any tax breaks. I didn't get
the under 92 with 50 bits. He has to be lying, otherwise he would have a toilet in his basement instead of a pee drawer.
Trump check. I didn't get unemployment checks.
Right, because you're wealthy. Because you're a wealthy man, Jeremy.
I take nothing from the system.
Wind Chanter with 20 bits. I'm happy you want capitalism. I would give you a cookie, but that means the means to produce cookies is owned by your neighbor. Jeremy, yeah, that's how the system is supposed to work. When you can't afford these things, healthcare to feed yourself and your family, housing, then you're supposed to be protected by a social safety net. A safety net that is funded by those who have been fortunate enough that they have succeeded and they are wealthy, like yourself. That's how it works. And if you're complaining about having a functional society because people aren't because people are getting any sort of assistance, fuck you. Fuck you. Jeremy. Genuinely. You're a wealthy man. Good for you. I'm happy for you. Not really, because I think of all the people, I don't think you deserve the money. But in like a whatever way, cool. Good for you. But also, if you're going to come out here and be like, but I don't want to pay more taxes, even though I make hundreds and hundreds of thousands of dollars a year. Fuck you. Fuck you. Fuck you.
And I pay in hundreds of thousands of dollars every year.
Antipodian Squid. Congrats, Jeremy. You won capitalism. Yep.
That is important to me. If I pay $10,000, $20,000, $30,000 less in taxes every year, that means I can accumulate wealth. I can purchase land. I can allow my wife to retire and help raise a family.
Jeremy, if you can't already have you and your wife retire by saving money every year on the hundreds of thousands of dollars you're already making, you're terrible with money, and you need to stop spending so much money on the crap for the background of your videos. Like, you're literally just advocating for, I already have all the money that I could ever, worry about. I'll be able to retire comfortably by the time I'm in my 50s, but I want more. I want to be a landlord and buy property that I can charge other people to be on, even though I'm doing no work, in order to make money off of it. Yes, please, serfs, give me your money. It's bad. It's bad. Jeremy, stop it, you rich asshole. He's so fucking out of touch. Lime Green Hunk, thank you for following.
These are things that are important to me. Not, paying a couple $1,000s a month less in taxes is the difference between having my wife at home with me every day and her having to go to work, all right?
That cannot be true, Jeremy. If you're paying hundreds of thousands of dollars in taxes a year, then you make enough money for the both of you, and you're just overextending yourself. I don't know how big Jeremy's house is. I've never seen any other rooms in it other than, the basement he films in. But if he's making that much money and he's still struggling, then he has bought a house that he cannot afford, which would kind of be hilarious. MMO addicted with 20 bits to pay hundreds of thousands, assuming he lives in Cali, a high-rate tax state, and doesn't use anything to save money. He'd have to earn at least $700,000 a year. That's 200-ish in tax. That sounds about right. Jeremy, if you're making $700,000 a year and your wife still has to work and that's a situation that she doesn't want to have, then you are shit with money. Even if you live in California, if you're making almost $750,000 a year and you can't figure out how to save money for retirement and live your life reasonably with that, you're a fucking idiot. You're a selfish prick who's doing some stupid shit with your money. Wind Chanter with 20 bits. Jeremy, if she had to be at home during the day, she would probably leave you. Nah, she'd just be getting pizza a lot. Pizza's what she calls, the dude's wang that she cheats on Jeremy with. Tucker White 94. Oh God, we need that cleanser after this. Woe is me. I'm rich and I pay too much in taxes, bitching.
This is on my mind. Again, I want people here. I want tax censorship handled, and I want taxation as little as possible.
Guys, go and vote. Because shitbags like Jeremy, a bunch of rich assholes who want to give nothing back to society, even though society has given them everything to the point that it's allowed them to become ridiculously wealthy, they don't want to give back to that same society to allow other people the same opportunities. They climbed up the ladder of success and they want to kick it off once they get to the top so other people can't follow them. Fuck these people. Go and vote. Do not let people like this decide the fate of this country and the fate of your lives. These people are dirt.
It's theft in many ways, but
There's nothing funny about
Taxation is... We got non-ironic taxation is theft, folks. We got him. Taxation is theft. We can wrap it up. The election's over, boys. Thief of Hearts. Hannah, I got this perfect clip for you regarding Jeremy. This is something he said in a now deleted stream a few weeks, admitting he was playing up Trump losing in recent weeks so his viewers would go vote. Let me take a look. Literally the problem, he isn't comfortable having enough money. He wants all the money. Yeah, that's a capitalism problem. There are people who there are people who get addicted to money, basically. They get addicted to the acquisition of wealth, where even though they live lives more comfortable than 99% of the people on planet Earth, they just can't stop. They can't stop looking at their bank account, and even though it keeps going up and up and up, it's not going up fast enough, and taxes come out occasionally, so they need to do something about it, and they inadvertently destroy the fabric of civilization by refusing to pay for the upkeep of the civilization that they live in. Antipodian Squid, Jeremy is a closet sovereign citizen confirmed. I think he's more a right-winger. He's just a right-winger.
Look, you want to know why I say I believe he's behind? It's because I want every Trump voter to make sure they vote. And I want every Trump voter to make sure that they find someone they love or that they value who is apolitical, and they tell them why it's important to vote for Donald Trump. In 2016, there were a lot of voters that thought Hillary Clinton had it in the bag, and they didn't show up, right? And that's why Trump won. Donald Trump needs not only everybody that voted for him in 2016 to vote, but he needs new people to vote for him, and he needs new people to not take it like, you know what I mean? Like, he needs them to take it seriously. I mean, look.
Very honest of you, Jeremy.
I won't go down that road, okay?
Tucker White 94, Jeremy in the early 2000s, poppycock to these communist unionizers, taking money from the robber barons, I mean benevolent job creators.
You know, when we have a good libertarian candidate, it's probably somebody I would back, just not there yet. I don't know about Joe Jorgensen, but, you know, in terms of protecting our borders, absolutely want better border protection. I want to stop the millions of pills rolling over the border into this country. I'd also like to stop all the millions of pills that are getting prescribed by doctors that are literally destroying towns.
Okay, so Jeremy, the solution to these problems would be, first of all, end the war on drugs and decriminalize these things, and then shift the focus of drug addiction from a criminal one to a healthcare-oriented one in which people can receive healthcare for their addictions whenever they would like without the stigma attached. And then you want to get something like Medicare for all, or at least a public option, so you can undermine the for-profit healthcare industry that has incentivized doctors to prescribe these habit-forming drugs that are destroying the lives of many people. That would be the answer, Jeremy, which again would be on the left, not the right, or rather for you guys, on the left, not the right.
There's a few documentaries out there about how people get on pills and then they move to... It's heartbreaking.
Oopsie.
It happens in the suburbs. Happens all around me. A couple kids OD'd last year. Another few this year already, just from a relatively small town. You know, again, taking care of our own people.
Acquisition of wealth issues? Sounds like a cookie clicker real-life edition, apocalypse stage included, says Dr. Campbell.
People. Does that mean I want to close our borders forever? No, of course not. I just want to have a reasonable path to citizenship.
This is a lie. Right-wingers say this shit all the time. They're like, oh, I'm not against immigration. I just want to make sure it's done legally. And then they really, really lock down on border enforcement, and then they also make it harder to get into the country legally. It's not about legal immigration. It really isn't. It's about keeping brown people out of the country. It's ridiculous.
So people don't have to sneak across. Now, this is, again, something that's important to me in a bigger, a more complex situation or conversation, which I'm not going to address in this video. But, you know, there are many other issues, right? And I think when you spend a lot of time on Twitter, or you spend a lot of time on Facebook, it's so polarizing. It's like you're either you know, 80% of the people are either a mega Trump supporter or a mega Biden supporter. I think the reality is most of us are like, oh boy, I'm trying to take the lesser of two evils. I'm trying to take the one that says, you know, that has 5 or 6 good things among the many other bad things that they have.
And by that criteria, Jeremy, it's not even close. Biden wins every time with that criteria. And if you don't see the huge gulf of difference between these two people, then you are the furthest thing from a liberal. You are not some centrist if you think, looking at Joe Biden and Donald Trump and go, I don't know, they're pretty similar to me.
You're just never going to have a perfect candidate. There's always problems with them. And, you know, we can have the conversation about the two-party system, but that's not for this video. I think that...
Did I make my $100 goal the other day? Yes, I did.
Viewers is a clean election. I want a clear winner on election night.
Nope! Jeremy, again, advocating for complete bullshit. Guys, we probably won't have election results on election night, nor should we expect it considering the huge amount of mail-in voting that happened this election cycle. Anyone who says to you they want results on election night is just trying to invalidate the votes of hundreds of thousands of people. It's bullshit. There is 0 in the Constitution outlining election law that says we should have the results on the night of the election. For the vast majority of the history of the United States, that wasn't the case. For obvious reasons, right? Anyone who's trying to say that to you is just full of fucking shit. And they're just trying to invalidate the votes of people so they don't get counted. It's going to be a shit show. It's going to be disgusting, the level of, like, voter disenfranchisement we see during the election. Trump is probably going to say, like, at 11 p.m., okay, we're done, stop counting the votes. And it's going to be absurd. There's going to be millions, maybe hundreds of thousands, but probably millions of votes not getting counted if for some reason they decide to listen to Donald Trump and stop the count on election night. It's incredibly stupid. That's not how elections work.
Or very early morning the next day. I don't want this long, drawn-out thing, because...
If Trump says that, will people listen? His followers will listen. It depends on how many Trump sycophants are in charge of these things in the different states, because states run their own elections.
Because I don't think that that's good for this country. If Biden wins, so be it. We all have to go to work the next day, or we all have the same responsibilities the next day that we had the day before the election. I think that, you know... when you have all the weirdos in the street, I think that my viewers understand that, you know, allow yourself to have a little perspective. If your candidate wins, great. Now hold them to many of the things they say. If your candidate loses, okay, move on. You know, make sure you present a better candidate next time. I think one of my biggest complaints about the Democratic Party over the past 4 years is rather than pushing this country forward and rather than grooming a better candidate, they trotted out as a 100-year-old man who's been in politics for nearly 50 years and done nothing.
Joe Biden is like 3 years difference from Donald Trump. They're basically the same age. This is my least favorite, like, right-wing talking point. Biden's old. They're both old. I agree, they're both too old. But singling out either one and trying to ignore the other is absurd. They're both way too old.
Spent the last 4 years whinging about Orange Man bad.
Orange Man is bad. Unironically.
I just don't think that's productive. And then they try.
Imagine, like, I'm trying to imagine, and this is hyperbolic in Godwin's law, but follow me for a second. Imagine if a criticism that, like, some brown shirt in the late 1930s, early 40s of Hitler, if they're like, ugh, all of these communists out here saying mustache man bad. Ooh, good job, liberals. Like, just pointing out that an opposition is in opposition to the person in charge is not inherently a criticism. Like, no shit. Orange Man is bad. Mustache Man is bad. That is not a substantive criticism of your opposition to say, oh, all they can do is criticize the Führer. Why they do this, silly communist?
Trotted out a subpar candidate for the United States and the American people. The Republicans, again, plenty of problems with them as well.
All the problems being the things that you said need to be fixed that they won't fix and in fact will exacerbate the problems. Weird.
You know, they, in terms of tech censorship, boy, they sure didn't say boo about it until, like, you know, the 11th hour on election day. This is something that, you know, Trump knew was an issue in 2016 and did nothing for 4 years about it and may never do anything about it. There's a lot of issues. You know, I wish that he would, you know, have a little humility, although that's not why he got elected. I don't think it's good to just never admit when you're wrong. I don't think that's a character flaw. I'm wrong all the time. So I think when I went into the voting booth, I thought, which one of these two candidates would be better for this country? And in my opinion, it's Donald Trump. But who cares, right? It's just my vote. It's one vote. My vote doesn't matter any more than your vote. And if you're a Biden voter, good on you. I still want you to go to the poll, and I still want you to vote. I want the American people to vote in bigger numbers, and I want a clean election night. And most of all, I think that it is, I think we can all agree, whether or not you agree with me on the candidate or not, I don't care. See, this video isn't about vote my guy. I don't care.
Which is why you spent the video trying to convince people that Trump is better on these issues than Biden. No? You can't, what? Also, your entire channel, Midwestly, is just a right-wing politics channel. Whatever.
I think we can all agree that after the 3rd, hopefully, we'll stop seeing these cringe political ads. Our mailboxes can stop getting overrun with paper that goes directly into the trash. Our phones can finally silence for a few years from weirdo pollsters and people calling with auto dialers. That is one positive thing we can all look forward to after this election, providing it is clean, which I really hope it is. And hopefully people can calm down a little bit.
I don't like the implication of if it's clean. Again, it feels like it's priming people for some sort of voter fraud, which has never been a widespread issue in the United States. I feel like it's teeing up for Trump to be like, I'm gonna invalidate all these votes. I think they're illegal. Title bell, 20 bits after this election, I'm getting ready for 2022. Good.
Let this election separate you from your family. Don't let this election separate you from your friends. I have friends who aren't Biden supporters, and we rib each other about it. It's never personal.
I want to know who Jeremy's friends are who are Biden supporters that put up with Jeremy's bullshit. Genuinely. What is their life like?
All right, just remember that.
Other rich people, probably.
You make your vote, they can make their vote, and that's all it has to be. You don't have to run things into the ground. I hope you enjoyed this video. Please go vote. If if you've got a friend or a family member that hasn't voted yet, go with them, offer to take them, and have a blast. Make it fun, because it's fun for me. It was fun for me to go, and I hope that you'll go too. I hope you enjoyed this video. We'll talk to you again real soon.
Okay. So Jeremy, right wing tries to pretend to be liberal. So here's my message that I want you to take away from this video. Vote on the 3rd. Specifically, if you need motivation, so Jeremy's taxes go higher. Just if you're like feeling lazy and you're like, do I want to go to the polls? Oh God, the line's gonna be so long. But just think, your vote could raise the quartering's taxes. And wouldn't that just be beautiful? Let's all work together for that world, people. Go vote. The Ender 92 with 50 bits. That's the freaking problem, Jeremy. It is personal to me. I have family members scared their marriage won't be legal in the next 4 years, asshole. Yeah. And make John Doyle cry. That would be nice. That would be beautiful.